Hello, viewers, and welcome to another episode of the Enoch generation, a generation that walks with God. Today in our studios, we have with us Mr. Charles Lewis, and he's working in a medical billing concern. He's also involved in a lot of ministry, especially ministry among the youth and choir too. Well, Mr. Charles has a very big story to share with us, his journey with Jesus. So over to Mr. Charles. Yes, Charles, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're absolutely busy and you've spared this time for us. So we would like to know when and how you started this journey, something about your childhood days.
To start with my childhood days, my mother is basically from a different religion, and my dad, they actually a love marriage. But what happened is, from my younger days, once I was born, there was a break in the family actually. So my dad and mom, they actually went apart, and
So were you the first child?
I was the first.
Okay.
And I was taken care only by my grandmother. And I always,
Your maternal or paternal grandmother, who took care of
my father's
mom?
mother.
Okay.
So this was the beginning stage. Actually, my birth itself was a miracle, because in the delivery ward, they said we can either only spare the mother or the child. They asked to give it in writing, what do you actually want to do? But at that time, they were my uncles. They were very prayerful people. So they said, no, we will pray about it, and God will surely make a way for us. And after much struggle, both of us actually came out successfully, my mother and me. But after that, there were some issues in the house, but and that had caused actually a split in the family. So basically, I was like a rejected child all the time. I was always left out in all matters of the home. I was brought up by my grandmother, and she was the one who took care of me. My father will come, once in a while to come and see me, or my mother, they will come, just whenever they feel like coming.
So it was more like a visit.
More like a visit. So there was a lot of loneliness in me, a lot of pain in me, and a lot of, when I see the other children's parents, when they come and they go, it kind of, there's a missing feeling there, missing link.
Yeah, some sort of a void inside of you.
A void inside of me. But basically, they were not very spiritual as well in my house. They were Christians, but they just go to church. They come like normal Christian life. So, but really where God touched me was every time when I listened to the message of our dear pastor, and God used to break my heart. I never used to know why I'm crying.
How old were you then?
I was, say, 12 years. That's 10 to 12 years. That's when I came to understand things in a better way. Otherwise, I also used to go.
But my point is, like, from when you were born, you were there with your grandmother, or at what age were you living?
From 2 months baby, I was with my grandmother.
Okay.
And she was the one who raised me and brought me up.
Okay.
And then again in between, they joined back. And they had a second child, and that's my sister.
Okay.
Her name is actually Jennifer.
Okay.
And but again, there was a problem, and again they broke off. So my sister went along with my mother's side, and I came off to my. But they are completely in the other religion background. But me, what happened is, at one stage, my mother came and she asked me, who do you want to continue with? Do you want to continue with your grandmother and be there, or you want to come off with me? I'll take you and go. I don't know really at that time, as a boy child, what made me to say, no, I don't want to be with you. I just want to be with my grandmother. And that's, I believe, is a turning point, because if I had to go to their side, my bringing up would have been different, my culture would have been different, my behavior would have been different, everything would have been different. So I think there itself, in that decision making only, I think God first saved me and brought me out. And as I was taught you, so I used to always go on the terrace. Terrace is always my favorite place to go and cry. And all my questions, all my doubts, all my fears, all my anxiety, I used to always share it with the Lord. So the truth is, I didn't know the Lord very personally at that time. I know there is a God. I know, like, if you speak, he can hear you, and he can understand what you feel, and he can really, uh, help you in that situation, or he can comfort you, or he can send you someone to comfort you in that situation.
How old were you when you were actually, crying out to God?
That is from 7 to 8 years itself.
Okay.
Those days, but it was not. I didn't really understand what I was doing at that time. But I used to go and cry out on the terrace. I used to share out my feelings, my pain, my anxiety, and everything to the Creator.
You felt that there was somebody listening to you, somebody who could understand you.
Correct.
Okay.
So, because that's what they were teaching in the church as well. So I'm intently listening to that, and
so you were regular to church, to Sunday school and things like that?
In church, Sunday school, I was regular. In fact, we used to go and put the chairs for the church and do all the work for the church, actually. So that's how my journey began. But what happened is, my life was not consistent with the Lord. There was always a kind of a breakup, you can say. So when you seek for love outside, then you get distracted from the Lord. So very often I've been distracted, and many people have how to explain that, have abused it as well, and played with the feelings and the emotion of the person. So
because I think the base in your life has been that you have lacked love, and you were seeking love from somewhere, from some
all
direction.
the time.
So every time somebody responded, I think you were very happy with it, never knowing what their intentions were.
Correct. When somebody speaks kind to you, it's very rare to find that. Because one bad experience that I had was when my mother once came, and she actually took me with her. And when she was going to introduce me to someone, she said, "Don't say that you're my son.
Oh my
say
God.
that you're my relation's son." So that actually took a toll on me a little bit. So those things are really emotionally breaking me down.
When you know that your own mother is rejecting you, it's pretty difficult to take the whole thing,
So that is how actually I began to, depend upon God and trust upon the Creator. And everything I used to, pray, and I used to seek the Lord for direction and guidance. But every time I slip back, I get into some kind of trouble. But God has actually, I say, been very kind to me. Being more than a mother, being more than a father. The verse that always comforts me is, even if your father and mother forsakes you, I will never forsake you. Can a mother forget a sucking child? Every time when I hear that verse, it brings a tear to my eye, because that verse has been real in my life. When your father and your mother, they can also forsake you. Your own can, really reject you. I've experienced that personally in my life, because usually they will say, the mother's very fond of the boy, and a mother cannot reject a boy. But that verse specifically, it had come to pass in my life. My mother can forget me. She can deny me. She can reject me. But I realized one thing, that the one who created me can never reject me or deny me, because He had created me with a purpose. He had created me with a desire. He has created me for His glory. So God has helped me in that way to gauge and to come out from that a little by little. It was not easy.
But as far as your relationship with your grandmother was concerned, how was it? Because you were really going through this phase, and how did your grandmother help you balance this?
My grandmother was the only person who supported me, I should say. Thank God for using my grandmother in my life. She was a very good person. She was always the one who would always encourage me. But I shouldn't even be ungrateful to my other family members of my father. My uncle, that is my father's brother, they just were dedicated in taking care of me. Even though they denied me, these people never left me. They came forward to educate me, because there was no one else to educate me, because my grandmother was the only person who was working at that time. So this was the situation that was happening. But as I was growing, what happened was...
Did they understand this void that was inside of you?
Probably, we are all living in a busy world. So everybody have their own set of problems, is what I come to understand now. So everybody are about doing their thing. So sometimes, even though they show that, they also coming from work stress and everything. So sometimes I'll be the person to get everything.
Okay.
All their pressure will come
Be
out on
released
me,
on you.
released on me. I'm like a stress buster for them. So that used to hurt me even more, because the people who are the only source who are support to me, they also do that. So this verse always I keep it like in me. The மனுஷனை நம்புவதை பார்க்கிலும் கர்த்தர் பேரில் பற்றுதா இருப்பதே நலம். ராஜாக்களை நம்புவதை பார்க்கிலும் கர்த்தர் பேரில் பற்றுதா இருப்பதே நலம். So actually my dependence slowly begin to grow in the Lord. I know that the Lord only can help me in that situation. Only God can really deliver me from that situation. Only God can really show me the support, because people all who we trust, sometimes we think that they are the only people who can help us, but sadly they are the ones who always let us down. And that is how God taught me to depend upon him every step of the way.
But what about your friends around your home, school? Did any of them understand what you were going through? Were any of them supportive to you at that young age?
I should be thankful for my neighbors and the people. They used to be very loving and kind to me. Actually, when I go to their house, and they treat me very well, like their own child. Especially, they are all from other religions, but the way they treat and the way they care and the way they love, that was really nice. They would not show any indifference and treat me badly and all that, but they used to be very good in those terms.
So they understood what you were going through.
What I was going through. So this was happening, but what happened was, in between, every time I'll actually fall sick.
Okay.
Some kind of a sickness will come, and it will not be just ordinary. It will be like to the point of death.
Oh my God.
That is how it used to be. So when I was studying 4th standard, I had a brain fever. And probably 1 week the fever was there, and they just tried to give some self-medication, but nothing worked out. But by the time we went to the hospital, the doctor said that the fever has now gone to the brain, so we cannot do anything much about it. And I began to actually blather and started going to the next level. So the doctor said, we cannot do anything much about it. You need to write and give it. Again, it's always my life about going to the hospital is always writing and giving only. But I thank God, even there, it's my uncles and all, they're very prayerful. So they really prayed for me in that situation, and I should thank God that I am alive today. That itself is I always thank God for that when I see myself living every day, because I never thought I will survive many things that came across my life, especially in terms of physically. Very often it used to happen, especially during the exam times, I will fall sick.
Okay.
And it will go to the extreme level, and then God will somehow bring me out. So that made me to always have this question in my mind and think about it a lot. See, if God is every time saving me, then he has some purpose, but I don't know what is the purpose. I don't know what is the reason he has got me alive, because at that age nobody was there to mentor me. Actually, nobody was there to train me or to tell me more about God and to help me in that phase, or to even to get into a relationship with God. Nobody actually taught me. It was more very religious than being spiritual, to what I understand from today's life, after me personally going and entering into the Word of God, spending time with God and understanding how to build a relationship with God and also teach it to my children today. That was lacking in my life. So this is pretty much about myself.
So at such a young age, when you were faced with, so many things around you, and you kept feeling lonely, rejected and all that, and how were you, you said you were talking to God, and to a certain extent you were able to move on. But then at points of time when you were seeking love from outside and you were rejected there, how did you feel about it, and what did you do to get back to Jesus?
See, the simple answer to that is, every time I was rejected, it actually pushed me, because I have no other hope. I have no other go. I have nobody else to talk to. The only person that I will always run back to is the Lord. That has been actually an habit for me.
Okay, so it's like what the devil meant for harm, God changed it for good. Okay.
True. So every time when somebody rejects, I'll come back to God and say, Lord, I'm sorry, I've been unfaithful to you. I should not have trusted that person. But then you showed me. See, the lessons that I learned in life, one thing, sometimes God doesn't stop you from actually making the wrong decision.
Okay.
He lets you go through it so that you will understand that only he truly and genuinely loves you. See, many times I go and do something, and then I will ask a question to God. Why did you let me to go and do this, Lord? Why did you allow me? You could have stopped me from that person. You could have stopped this person from deceiving me or that. But then as I begin to mature in it, I begin to realize that God doesn't actually tamper with my self-will.
Yeah, because He's not made us like robots. God has given us that, capacity to think, capacity to decide. That's why He says, no, I place life and death in front of you, and then gives you a clue. You choose life that you may live.
Correct.
But most of the time, I think we choose the opposite.
True.
And then
I understand.
we come back to Him.
Because there's no other go. Because once you go towards the wall, you have to just turn back.
Yeah.
There's nothing much in life you can really.
But
seek
even that,
beyond
there is grace that He gives us the grace to turn back towards Him.
True.
And not keep banging on the wall forever.
Correct. Honestly. So but the truth is, when you cry and when you really reconcile your relationship back to God, He doesn't talk about the past.
Exactly.
So He gives you an opportunity again to stand up and to continue in that phase. So this is how pretty much my life was going on, and my marriage.
So this was, sorry to interrupt you, but when you were in school, your friends would have known, the situation that you're going in. Your teachers would have known. So how did the school, the staff there react to you?
Basically, honestly speaking, I was very, very naughty in my school days.
Okay. So you weren't the quiet person we see today.
No way. So always the complaints used to go to my grandmother only.
Okay.
So they know it, but they just generally just treat the way they just go with the flow. They just don't show any difference because of that. They used to be kind, and as much as possible, they used to be polite with me. But I think probably sometimes I take it to the extreme level, I believe, in my naughtiness.
Okay. So in those times you needed to be reprimanded. But they all knew the sort of background that you were coming from.
Yeah, and that's the reason even most of my schools that I studied in, by God's grace, favorably, they always gave me a concession wherever I studied.
Okay.
They didn't allow me to pay the full fees always. It was always a concession.
It was a problem at home.
Yes.
So your grandmother must have had a very tough time, bringing you up. Although you had the support of your uncles and all that. So has she ever discussed that with you, any part of your life?
Probably my grandmother doesn't discuss much. The truth is, they don't sit and talk in the house about anything specific. It's just that when a problem arises, that's when they scold, they say something, they just leave it at and then just move on. That's how it has been a trend in my home.
Okay.
So, but I have learned that as an example, not to bring it into my house, and I take that as an opportunity to always sit with the children and sit down and discuss and speak about matters openly and transparently. And that has helped us to build our relationship as well.
Yeah, because generally whatever we go through in life, we do not want our children to taste the same. So we're very careful and make sure, that they don't lose out on all this. So anyway, viewers, you've been listening to Charles and his journey and the loneliness, the rejection that he had when he was a child, and how Jesus became his refuge. Yes, as children, we all do make mistakes, even as adults we do. But the moment we turn to Jesus, everything simply changes, because He's a loving Father who waits with open arms to embrace us the moment we turn to Him. So till our next episode, it's goodbye and God bless from us.
நட்சத்திரம்